now that we've created our individual alerts for the follower alert, the sub alert, resubs, gift subs, cheers, and raids, now what we need to do is create a system by which we can queue up these individual alerts so that whenever we get more than one alert in a short amount of time, that it doesn't actually just overwrite the alert every time a new one comes in. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a queue. And if you're not familiar with what queues are, just think about a line at a grocery store whenever you're going to check out. So the first person that reaches the cashier is the first one that's served. And then the line just moves on, and then the next person gets served, so on, so on, and so on. This is what we call in software first in, first out, or FIFO. So the way that we're going to do this is we are going to, as you can see here, I've already set up some initial things going on here. So before you saw this video, I actually recorded this video before, and it turns out that the method that I used to create our queue didn't work, and I didn't realize it until later. So I am re-recording this video, and some of the initial setup is already done. So what we're doing here is we are going to create an alert queue, which is going to be an array, which is what you see here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have a Boolean, which is just saying either true or false, that says, is the alert queue running? And if it's false, whenever we get an alert, then we just make this to true, and then we run the alert queue, which is this arrow function right here. And so what we're doing with this arrow function is we're going to create an interval. And an interval is very similar to what we've seen perhaps before in these videos, where you have something that happens after a certain period of time. But with a timeout, it only waits a little bit of time and then does a thing a single time. With an interval, it just repeats the same action over and over until we get the ending result that we're looking for, and then we can stop the interval. So the way that we're going to do this is we are going to create a variable called queueInterval. That is going to be equal to a set interval, which is the function that we're looking for. This is a function that takes in two arguments. The first argument that it takes in is a function that whenever this function is triggered, this is the logic that will happen every so many seconds that we define. And then the second argument is the amount of time that we are supposed to wait for each iteration to occur. So in this case, I'm going to have it be 20 seconds. So these intervals go in milliseconds. So 1 second is 1,000 milliseconds. So we want it to be 20,000 milliseconds. So this is going to be something that happens every 20 seconds. So the first thing that we're going to do is for every 20 seconds, what we're going to do is we are going to create a constant, and we're going to grab the current alert that is needing to come out. And that is going to be coming from the alert queue array that we created earlier. So we're going to say alert queue.shift. And the shift command takes the first element of the array and then removes it and then assigns it to this variable, and then just creates a new array minus the first element in the alert queue. So we're just removing the first element over and over and over and over again. So next thing we're going to do is we are going to grab the Twitch alerts section. So we're going to say, we're going to make another constant. We're going to call it Twitch alert section. And that is going to grab an element in the DOM, so the document object model. So in our original HTML file. So we're going to do a document get element by ID, and we are looking for the Twitch alerts section. So this one right here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to have the inner HTML of the Twitch alert section, the current alert that we just pulled. So we're going to say the inner HTML, is equal to the current alert. Now, remember that the alerts array, the alert queue array, is going to be filled with the HTML of each event that we're pulling in. So what we're doing is we're saying for every type of event that's being pulled in, that is, happening, we're saying alert queue push, and then we're pushing this HTML onto the alert queue array. So depending on the alert, we'll change the type of HTML that we are pulling, pushing into the array. So whenever we're saying that the inner HTML is going to be the current alert, the current alert that's coming from the alert queue is just a string version of HTML. So now that we actually have the alert being displayed, which is what this stuff does, what we're doing is then we are going to wait between 10 and 10.5 seconds. And then we're going to clear that alert and then check and see if we are done with all the alerts in the queue. And then if we are, set the alerts queue to false again and then stop the interval. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to do a set timeout. Now, if you remember what I was saying earlier, an interval happens over and over, whereas a timeout happens only once. So what we're doing is we're going to say a set timeout, and this works in the same way as a interval. So you need a function, and then you also need the time that we're waiting to do the thing. So with this one, we're going to wait 10 seconds. So 10,000 milliseconds. So what we're going to do is, in the timeout, what we're going to do is we're going to say after 10 seconds of the alert being visible, we're going to make the inner HTML now just be an empty string, which is essentially clearing it. And then what we're going to do is right after this wait time, and we clear the inner HTML of the alert, what we're going to do is we're going to do a conditional. So we're going to say if the alert queue length is equal to 0, then that means that the alert queue is now empty. We have gone through all of the alerts that are currently in the queue. And if that's the case, what we're going to do is we are going to first say alerts running is now equal to false. And then what we're going to do is we are going to clear the interval. The way we do that is we did say just a little clear interval, and then we pass in the queue interval itself. So this is why we have this as a variable instead of just having this going on by itself. So having this as a variable allows us to clear it more easily. So that's essentially how this queue is going to work. So to go over the whole process again, what we're doing is we are creating an array that is holding all of the alerts that come in from the bot. And then whenever we have an event that comes in, so let's say we get a follower alert or a resub, what that's going to do is it's going to push the HTML that is specific to that alert to the alert queue array. And then once it pushes it to the array, it comes down to the bottom over here, and it says if the alert's running, so if the alert queue is not already running, so if it's not already running, then we say we switch this to true, which means we are now running the alert's queue, and then we run the alert queue function. So what this does for us right here is if we get another alert, so let's say we get a raid while some follows or resubs or cheers are going on. So we already have the alert queue running, and then we get another thing come in while it's running. It's still going to push the HTML to the alert queue, but it's not going to start running the alert queue again from the beginning. It's just going to keep pushing things to the alert queue in order to see that we're just adding more elements to that array. And it's just going to keep running this interval up here until it just gets to be an empty array. And that's how that works. So In the next video, what we're going to be working on is using the same concepts that we're using here for the follows and subs and resubs and cheers and so on to now do some channel point reward redemption alerts, which is fairly unique. Like, some bots do that, but not a lot. So I'm going to show you how to do that from scratch. So stick around. Thanks for watching.